Hello, all of you. Thank you for being here. I'm Charles Kamhoua with the Army Research Laboratory Network Security Branch. So this talk is going to be about cyber physical security game. I'm going to start by a short definition from the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Cyber physical system or smart system are co-engineered interacting network of physical and computational components. This definition may not be clear, but I'm providing a few examples to illustrate. Those will be our power system, water supply, oil and gas, much of our critical infrastructure, and many more. Robot, drone, those are part of cyber physical system, autonomous vehicle, and another name that you have about cyber physical system will be the Internet of Things. Sensor will be the Internet of Things, but also cyber physical system, wearable device, smart home, and smart city. So from those examples, you will agree that all of you, more or less in our everyday life, are involved with cyber physical system. But the drawback is that they are constantly under cyber security attack. I'm going to illustrate a few cyber security attacks on cyber physical system. I'm starting by the WannaCry ransomware attack. Back in May, it was very popular on the news. Many news organizations talk about it. And let me show you how a compromised computer looks like. So this is the screen that you get. And basically, you are asked to pay a ransom. And that ransom has to be paid in Bitcoin. And if you pay the ransom, your computer gets decrypted. You can continue normal operation. But if you are not paying, you are losing all your data. So those are ransomware, basically. You pay the $300, you are fine. You do not pay, you lose everything. And they were able to make $1 billion in a week, compromising 230,000 computers in 150 countries, worldwide attack. And those attacks affected in the US, like, this is just a few examples, like the FedEx delivery company, Telecom in Spain. In the UK, it was the health system that got disrupted. In Russia, the interior ministry. So in France, car manufacturer, Renault. And you have more bad news on car manufacturer from this attack. Like in Romania, it was Dacia. In France, Renault that I mentioned, and many other car manufacturers. So very widespread attack, well publicized. Another such attack on Internet of Things was the Mirai botnet. Millions of computers compromised worldwide. And those computers were used, basically those were smart camera and router, home router. They were used later in large-scale distributed denial of service attack. It is not only about those denial of service or making money through ransomware, it's also about terrorism. We had a cyber attack on the biggest Saudi Arabia oil company, claimed by a terrorist group, compromising their computer system, and they had to do business the whole way. Everything was stopped. They had to do everything on paper for 2 weeks, resulting in billions of dollars lost for that company. That's what they say, a terrorist attack. Besides terrorist attack, you also have cyber war. Russia demonstrated that capability last year on Ukraine, compromising the power system on Ukraine and being able to monitor Ukrainian soldiers. So this is a real possibility, cyber war, and this is also more likely looking at our current battlefield. Our current battlefield have a lot of cyber physical system. We have in our battlefield sensor, robot, wearable device from soldier, all of that. Those are cyber physical systems in our battlefield. And we already know the potential for cyber war as demonstrated by Russia. So I'm going to start by showing you here the mission of the Army Research Laboratory to discover, innovate, and transition science and technology to ensure dominant strategic land power. And it is evident, looking at the battlefield, that the Army cannot achieve strategic dominance, strategic land power dominance, without cyber physical system security. So that's why the Army Research Lab launched a few initiatives So we have a brand new research trust at the network security branch where I work, fully dedicated to the security of cyber physical system. In collaboration with academic institutions, we are launching the Collaborative Research Alliance for the Internet of Battlefield Chain. And we already have at Penn State University the Cyber Security Collaborative Research Alliance working on cyber security, but with a few researchers looking at cyber physical system security in those centers. So it's a very serious problem. Now, the big question that my research tried to address is how do we accurately characterize cyber physical security threat and find the best countermeasure. And what I propose in my line of research is to use game theory, which is by definition the stage of mathematical model of conflict and cooperation between intelligent, rational decision maker. And we agree that we have a lot of conflict in cyberspace, so the motivation for game theory is well-funded. By combining game theory and cyber physical security analysis, we should be able to predict the attacker's best move and prevent or quickly counteract cyber attack. I'm going to show you the architecture of our cyber physical system, basically our critical infrastructure. You have first our corporate network, those involved where the regular employees sit, the business people, management, accountant, that will be part of the corporate network. Going one step deeper will be the control system. Basically, that's where engineers stay. And we have finally our critical infrastructure itself. So this is how a typical attack happens to those critical systems. You're going to have an attacker who remotely send an email to the corporate network. That email is downloaded by an employee, maybe for lack of training, and then propagate to the control system, then finally reach our critical infrastructure, and from there you can have an outage. So this is a typical cyber attack that will result in a physical damage with potential loss of life. Those movements that you saw of the attacker going deeper into the network is what we call lateral movement. So I'm going to show you a basic example, the simplest one, of how to use game theory to model those lateral movements. We have here our remote attacker will have, at some specific step, the choice between going through the server or going through the workstation. The attacker will have to do a cost-benefit analysis. So looking at the cost of exploit, we can find that from the National Vulnerability Database. Those vulnerabilities get scored. The National Institute of Standards maintains a database of new vulnerability, and you have a score for them, and those scores show how easily or hard it is to exploit specific vulnerability. So from the vulnerability database, let's say that vulnerability 1 will have a potential cost of 9 to be exploited, and the second vulnerability potential cost of 4. And the second factor will be the target value. So what is the value of compromising the workstation? Let's say for this example is 12, and for the server will be 20. So then the reward will be what? The value of the target minus the cost of the exploit. And let's go further. We formalize us in a game. The game shows the two players, the attacker, the defender, the strategy available to each player. For the attacker, it will be to go through H1 or H2. For the defender, it will be to cut vulnerability 1 or to cut vulnerability 2. So the message here is that if the attacker and defender choose the same strategy, that's bad news for the attacker, because what? Then the defender is successful of fighting that attack. But if they choose different strategy, that's the advantage to the attacker. So in this first box, they are using the same strategy, so that will be the defender advantage, because what? Then the defender is able to cut vulnerability 1. The attack is not successful, but however, the attacker already spent 9 to try to have that attack. So in the payoff matrix, that will be 0 because he's not getting any value, minus 9. So that will be the payoff for that box. In the second box, that's the advantage for the attacker, because what? It can get through the target. Getting through the target because the defender here is protecting vulnerability 1 when the attacker instead is going through H2. So that's a successful attack. The attacker gets the payoff of 12 and lose 4 and the 12 minus 4 will be 8. That will be the payoff for there. The other box get filled in a similar way. And then having a game, then we have to be asking ourselves if there's a mathematical best choice. So think about it for now, looking at this game, what will be the best choice? So the answer will be in the Nash equilibrium. Nash got the Nobel Prize for that. It was featured in the movie A Beautiful Mind, for those who do not know him. And the Nash equilibrium basically say that no player can unilaterally change his strategy and increase his payoff. So from there, what will be the best strategy to adopt? If you are, let's say, the attacker, do you go after H1 or H2? H1, hide your hand. H2. So, but basically, this game do not have a pure strategy Nash equilibrium. But that will be what we call a mixed strategy Nash equilibrium. That means you are forced to randomize your strategy. And in that randomization, you have to make yourself unpredictable. And to guarantee that unpredictability, this is a distribution by which to space specific strategy after all calculation. The attacker has to go through H1 38% of the time and H2 62% of the time. And this will be the strategy for the defender, 47-53. So, knowing that, basically, the end goal is that we want self-secure system. And what I just showed you is a very toy example. But in a real game, those type of strategy get chosen repeatedly over and over. That's why we call stochastic game. And how do we have stochastic game to ensure self-secure system? We start by scanning the National Vulnerability Database. And from there, we can build a vulnerability graph. And building a vulnerability graph, we can have machine learning algorithm that will be learning to detect adversary, find out their goal, their payoff, and target. And after you detect an adversary, then you quickly formulate the stochastic game and find the optimum policy for the cyber defense. And as time goes, there may be new vulnerability or new patch, and everything can automatically get updated. Self-security is important because in cyberspace, everything happens at the speed of the processor. So a human may not be able to catch up with in real time with a cyber attack happening. So that's why we need to build those automated algorithms. And we need game theory or a solid mathematical framework for that. So to conclude this talk, most of you may know that 60 years ago today, we had the Sputnik revolution. Our adversary launched a satellite in space, and that satellite appeared to be a big threat for us. Being a big threat, there was a national motivation to get a man on the moon by the end of the next decade. And through that motivation, we were successful in putting a man in 1969 on the moon. But today, the new threat is not space. The new threat today is cyberspace. So we need to formulate what is our cyber moon. What will be our cyber moonshot? We need a scientific revolution with a motivation from all scientists worldwide to be looking at automatic approach to protect our critical infrastructure. Thank you.